Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Toby with a Gypsy's Kiss. It's appropriate that today is International Pie Day because if you stick around for a couple of seconds, you will see this guy eat a piece of humble pie. Hey, everybody. This is Toby of a Gypsy's Kiss, and I know we had planned to have a nice long conversation on debating the responsibility and liability of owning the treasure and not informing the public. But I think it's going to be a short conversation because as a result of my research, you're going to see that it isn't an issue. So last night, actually about a week ago, I called I called two attorney friends, and I asked them the question about liability. That is, whether or not a finder of the treasure would be held liable if they didn't inform the public that they had found the treasure, and if a death or serious injury had occurred had occurred as a result. And neither of them are necessarily treasure liability attorneys, but they said they'd go look for someone that might be. And I was hoping to hear from them. And unfortunately, as attorneys are, they get busy and they have other things, and I wasn't paying them for their services. So I didn't hear from them. So last night, I thought to myself, I can't go into this conversation today without knowing absolutely one way or the other what the facts are in the case of this situation. And so what I decided to do, and as you can see on the screen that's in the background, I'm gonna get a closer look at it so I can tell you what it is. This is actually a copy, a web page version of the email that I received in response from a website called Just Answer. And Just Answer is a website that provides a variety of professionals, including attorneys and doctors and other professionals, that if you sign on and become a member, you can enter into a chat. And there's a couple of ways to do it. One, you can enter into a text chat, or if you want, you can have them call you and they bill you by the hour for the conversation or any part thereof. It's about $60 an hour, which actually is a very good price for what you're getting. But they had a special on, take advantage of a special, and it was a $5 trial membership, long enough for me to ask the questions that I wanted to ask and see if I could get some kind of answer from them. So as you can see here, I acquired a $5 trial membership through the 18th of the month in my email address name. I probably don't want to share my personal email, but you guys know that if you need to reach me, you can reach me at gypsyskiss.com. But I wanted to show you that I did actually get the account to ask the question. Well, once I entered my membership, the first thing that happened is this. And they documented the conversation that I had with both their I guess the equivalent of receptionist, and then the attorney. And so I've posted it here. I have a link. There is a link to this conversation in the description box below this video. So if you want to check it out yourself, you're perfectly welcome to do that. So this is how the conversation went. I started by speaking with the receptionist, and I'm going to read this to you because I'm sure some of you are going to look at this on your smartphones and you won't be able to see it because the text is very small. So I started with the conversation with the receptionist, and I'm going to take my eyes away from the camera so I can read this here for you. Let me raise it just a little bit so I don't seem so far away. So I have a question about personal, and that was their click. So I clicked on I have a question about personal, and I wrote I have a question about personal liability or responsibility. How much do you need to know? Because I wasn't sure how much the receptionist needed to know. The receptionist responds with, what state are you in? Because it matters because the laws vary by location. I said I was in New Mexico, but I don't think this is unique to New Mexico. I'm sure the law applies everywhere in the United States. She asks, has anything been filed or reported? And what she was trying to find out at that point was whether or not this concern for liability had already occurred or was the result of something that had already occurred. and she wanted to ask me had I filed a report or had a report been filed on it. I explained to her, no, it's purely hypothetical and kind of complex. So she asked for anything else. I don't think I got a chance to respond. Oh, I did. She asked, is there anything else you want the lawyer to know? I said, yes. Let me write it out completely. And before I could start writing it, she actually transferred me to the attorney. So the attorney uses initials, TJ Esquire, and they have kind of a stock opening response. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to assist you. My name is TJ, and I will do my very best to answer your legal questions. How can I help you? What is your question? Thank you. And so I gave him or her a detailed description of the question that I had. I'm going to read it to you again. A man named Forrest Fenn hid a treasure somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. See, I used the exact definition. How cool is that? 4 people have already died as a result of accidents while searching for the treasure. And I suggested that if he needed more information, he could Google Forrest Fenn or the thrill of the chase. It is expected that when someone finds the treasure, that they will inform Fenn that it has been found so that he can inform the public. That's the expectation. And then I said, here's my hypothetical question. And I wrote it in the form of a mathematical question. If, what is this, Boolean? If someone finds the treasure and if they do not inform Fenn or the public that the treasure has been recovered, and if someone were to die or be severely injured as a result of looking for the treasure that was in the finder's possession, then could the finder be held liable for the death of the searcher if eventually it were discovered that the treasure was in the finder's possession? And it's pretty self-explanatory. What it says is if you find the treasure, if I find the treasure and I don't tell anyone, somebody dies, and then later on it is discovered that I have the treasure in my possession, can I be held liable for that death? The attorney was very clear. And the attorney responds, and I was kind of surprised at the rapidity with which he responded. It didn't sound like to him or her it was a complex legal question. They say, hello again. No, there is no legal theory that would hold the finder liable for the injury or death of a subsequent searcher. First, the finder has no legal obligation to inform anybody, which is interesting news. I had theorized that you did not have a legal responsibility, but I was always concerned about the potential for liability. The finder has no legal liability to inform anybody that the treasure is found. Second, the finder is not the proximate cause of the subsequent search, injuries, or death. And what that means basically is you weren't responsible, I wasn't responsible for sending the searcher, telling the searcher to go out and look for the treasure, even though the treasure was in my possession. Does that, he or she asks, does that answer your question? So I asked a second question, and at this point when I hit return, it took me out of the conversation, so I had to come back. So you'll see the question repeated. The question, my follow-on question was, if you were defending said finder, is there either, and I meant here, U.S. code, meaning federal law, or a case law you would use to defend them, or would the case never come to trial, which was my assumption, but I wanted to make sure I had the clarification. They respond in 2 sections. Hi again. I highly doubt the case would ever come to trial, since there is no viable legal theory to hold the finder liable. I would file a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim. In other words, a case like this is dismissed if the plaintiff, meaning the person who is related to the searcher who died, does not state facts that would lead to any possible recovery. And I think that goes back to the proximate cause clause, meaning if the plaintiff, in this case, let's say it's the spouse of a searcher who passed away, could not prove that you were directly responsible for the searcher's death, meaning you didn't tell that searcher, hey, go look for the treasure here because it's still out there. That's that proximate cause clause. Then this guy, in defending you, would never even get it. He wouldn't allow it to get to trial. He follows up. So let me finish that. In other words, a case like this is dismissed if the plaintiff does not state facts that would lead to any possibility of recovery. Put it another way, and I guess that's the second part of the proximate cause clause. The searcher who passes away has to firmly believe and have evidence that where they were going, the treasure would be. And then they respond a second time, put another way, the burden is on the plaintiff, meaning the relative of the searcher that passed, to provide their case, his case. So he would have to provide facts and law that allow for the recovery. I do not know of any law that would allow for the recovery based upon the facts that you shared. So the bottom line is, I was wrong. You cannot be held liable for the death of a searcher if you fail to inform the public that you have recovered for the treasure, and that searcher subsequently passes away as a result of searching for the treasure in your possession. So I'm sorry that I gave you an opinion. It wasn't data. I've always said it was an opinion. So I'm sorry I gave you an opinion that was wrong. And this attorney has straightened me out. And I hope by sharing this with you, it helps you to think out better. Now, I think there's a moral reason, even in maintaining your anonymity, to inform the public that the treasure has been found. Because that's our plan. Our plan is to remain anonymous, but to announce that the treasure has been found. But there is no legal liability, and so I'm here today to eat a piece of humble pie because I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, and I hope you guys will forgive me for that one little faux pas on my part. So let me go back to full screen so we can open this up. I don't know if you know, we have any questions that we have to deal with as of this point, because I mean, there's no debate unless you want to debate the opposite, and you have legal evidence. I was hoping actually an attorney would sign on today. So let me go through the Q&A, see if there's anything there that we need to address. And thanks for signing on, by the way. Thank you all for signing on, being patient, and I hope you'll find forgiveness in your heart for me being incorrect. So I'm going to look down here and look and see if there's any questions that need to be answered. Let's see. Yeah, cheese wheel and number. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you that, honestly, I'll bet you the humble pie. Oh, by the way, I've put a recipe for humble pie down in the description box below. So if you feel like making a humble pie and sending it to me, I'll eat it on camera. But it has to be that humble pie. And don't put anything bad in it, for God's sakes. So let's see. Yeah, man in the barn, the crow doesn't taste very well. That's very good, and that's why I went with a humble pie. Okay, so it looks like Bill Gorman, yes, the art is in a wood frame. Oh my God, you are so funny. I think that's all the questions, unless I'm missing something here. I guess there aren't a lot of questions when all you get to see is me coming on and being wrong. Hi, Shelley Carney. Oh, that was you that made the very funny with a cheese wheel. Okay, so unless anybody has any more questions, I will end this conversation. And I didn't have time to actually make the humble pie. So I went out to the garage where I thought I might be able to find some humble pie. And I actually found in my record collection an old humble pie. I think this was their first album, Eat It, a humble pie album. So while you're watching the outro here of today's video, I'm going to eat a piece of humble pie.